I guess talking about the technology after all of that is the downside, isn't it? But I couldn't avoid missing the Centre for Space Studies 2 buildings away as I came in this morning. So it leads me to say that Telecare and Telehealth are not rocket science. They're a lot easier, and their basis, I guess, is in supporting people's self-care and their independence. And you know, we have to think of it in terms of what we have had for a long time. We've certainly had the stair lifts, we've certainly had the grab rails, something concrete that people can do to their homes to make them suitable for infirmity. And there are lots of little bits and pieces that you can buy over the counter, small things that can, well, you can take them with you. If you have a problem with your dexterity, then you can pour a cup of scalding hot water safely. And for people who have profound disabilities, there are sophisticated environmental control systems. But perhaps what we are talking about today is the connection. And the connection goes with the integration that previous speakers have already mentioned. And the great thing about the connection is it's Telecare, Telehealth, and in fact, it's any other teletechnology. So it is social care. It's certainly making people feel as if they are cared for, whether they're looking after themselves or whether they're using technology to support that experience. So I could draw the line in that way to say anything above is definitely the old-fashioned technology. Below the line we have electronic or computerized technology, or draw it that way. And to the right, it really is something you could have quickly. So if you're at home, if you're at hospital and you want to go home, if you need something on the left, I'm afraid you can't come home today. But if it's on the right, surely you can come home supported by that sort of technology. So it's all about that bottom right corner. And I call it connected healthcare. And it comes in lots of flavours, and that introduces definitions, which is something we don't really want. But I think most people understand that telemedicine is a sort of clinician's concept. It helps people talk to each other, remote diagnosis from an X-ray or a CAT scan, teleconferencing, second opinions, and that's not really about the patient on their own in their home, because they could be stuck at home where they may suffer personal emergencies of any type. They may suffer from a lack of sleep or any of the other outcomes or effects of long-term conditions. But fortunately, most of us, though we do have problems when we're at home, we are able to get out, and getting out actually relieves many of those anxiety and indeed problems associated with depression. So we need to think about the great outdoors. The great outdoors where we can perform activities, we can socialise, but we still do have emergencies, of course. So perhaps what we should be talking about is ubiquitous healthcare, or UCare for short. There's lots of support. I'm not going to bore you with the technology. I'll just point you to 2 products. One are pouches, medication pouches produced by robots and delivered to the pharmacist, who delivers it on a roll, and it fits in that box. At the right time, out pops the pouch. And it's been trialled. No, actually, it's a Dutch device, and it's been used. There are 2 facilities in the UK, one in Widnes, one in Sunderland, and it pays for itself because they have large buying power, so the medication costs less anyway. And that's the United States offering. It's called EMA. I like things with a name. Electronic Medication Management Assistant. And effectively, it takes that pouch, actually it takes a blister pack, although blister packs in America run for 10 days. So if they adopted a metric week, I don't know, it doesn't make any sense. But when they do, it just pops out the right medication at the right time, and it's been used by the military. Great trial, because the soldiers always take things on time. Yes, sir. People getting lost if they have dementia. Is it a medical problem? Is it a social problem? Well, it's certainly a social problem when they're at home. Lots of technologies ranging from £80 up to £300. Lots of different ways, whether you want to watch or whether you want something to carry in a handbag or on your keyring. And once more, what we have is choice. And it's no longer a case of Surrey has this device on offer, Surrey needs 12 devices, so that the right prescriber can say, I know this lady will not carry a mobile phone, I know she doesn't like wearing a plastic watch, but she always goes out with her keyring or a handbag, so she needs this device. So that prescription, the maturity, the decision making, improving a lot. But I really wanted to talk about the monitoring technologies. So what do we do for chronic disease? Well, actually, the bits and pieces of technology, that's the first part, the sensors. And the sensors don't necessarily be medical sensors. Then there's a gateway, something into the system, and we could use wireless. Well, generally in the future, we will use wireless. And then we have that route out to the World Wide Web, and then we can store the data somewhere, and of course we can look at it, or whoever has the right, and that should include the families, of course, could look at it. And then you get the feedback back to someone's iPad or whatever. Okay, so what's been happening? Reactive care is changing. We now have responsive and predictive care. Social care. This is telecare. This isn't telehealth. This is looking at people's habits. How often they go out. How often they switch the television on. How often they have visitors. How often they eat. How much time they spend in bed. That's the social care issue, but we have the technologies to bring it in. The lifestyle monitoring could tell us something simple, like how often do they go to the bathroom? How long for? And you must make allowances for teenage daughters. Tracking sleep. If you don't sleep well, you don't feel well, you're more likely to have accidents and other conditions exacerbated. And so simple technologies, yes, even using your BlackBerry or your iPhone. And you can start then changing your habits to adjust the sleep. And this works actually pretty well. So for telehealth, what we have, a whole range of sensors. And they're not the simple ones that you might expect. We moved from that simple one into, that's a Korean device. It's a sheet, which is active, electroactive, and it monitors movements to such an extent it can look at cardiac output and arrhythmia. It can look at breathing measurements. And there are similar technologies from Europe. I know Philips have something that fits under the bed, and I know there's a sheet also from Scandinavia that works in a similar way. Intelligent vest, been around a long time. Life vest trials, there are over 200 items of evidence from Europe gathered over the last 8 years, all showing that the measurements you take with a life vest are equivalent to those that you would take with standard vital signs monitors. The little patch, 2 miles UK technology, that's the great thing here. We're leading the world again. And the pill that you swallow that tracks from the inside what's going on. And of course the big trial of that ingested pill is through Lloyd's Pharmacy. And that's the mirror with the camera behind it, looking at those fluctuations. So it's not, I've got a mirror in my bathroom, at least I imagine it's there. And I imagine in the morning that it speaks to me as I get up and says, Kevin, you look rough today, which is fine at 5 o'clock. But I could imagine it picking out a mole on the side of my face and tracking it over time and seeing it change shape, colour, pattern. That technology, emailing my GP to make that appointment, all that's possible. So that technology now doesn't need to be attached. And there are other approaches. These are very recent ones. This doesn't mind getting dirty. This one is another device which looks at galvanic skin response, so measuring other parameters. This could pick up, this can be stuck to your body just about anywhere, and it uses a body area network to look at activity within the body. And that's a rather neat bathroom scales. So everything is jazzed up and made easier to use, so that possible hurdle for the deployment of technology, which is usability, is disappearing as people design it out. And even simple stuff you would think, video telephony, imagine that sitting on top of your TV, and indeed that's a project coming out of the ALIP program where that little box gives the user, an older person, view of someone at the other end. So that could be telenursing. Actually, the biggest contract for it is telemedicine within prisons, where they can do remote diagnosis, because nobody wants to go in there to check them out. Fitness, that's a tennis player's item, tells you how fast their arm moves, how often they move, and indeed all the sportswear. I guess with the Olympics coming up in a couple of months, we're going to see sportsmen wearing all this sort of thing. And on our screens, on the TV, you're going to see people's heart rates and their activity rates. So the sensors, I think, are going to lead us to greater usability. The bits in the middle, and I was conscious of your exhibition. I thought, shall I go through every one? And you know, there isn't enough room there, is there? All I would say, firstly, it's moved from that one next to it, which is a bedside monitor. Because 15 years ago, bringing it out from hospital meant, hey, the home should look like hospital. Oh, no, it shouldn't. We want to get away from the hospital. So everything has become neater, smaller, better. And of course, we're moving into that tablets and smartphone era where we have the power of the smartphone already. And I could speak to you for the next half hour about some of the apps that are possible. And I'm just going to flash them through, because we know now for anyone, whether they have a disability, a learning disability, even things we don't want to talk about, there's an app for it. There's an app for just about everything. And some of them actually work. You can have plugins. You can monitor vital signs directly into an iPhone, for example. So that is the area that's mature. So people can buy with confidence. So it's never too early to buy into that middle gateway. I guess what happens afterwards is the bit that excites people, and how you display that data. And I'm back to my bathroom mirror, because I inevitably have to look at it. Whether I'm brushing my teeth, whether I'm shaving, I'm going to look at it. So why not tell me the amount of hydration I need? Why not tell me that, that my weight has actually dropped by 10% over the last 3 months, even if it's not true? And that gives us data fusion, and you can make your own dashboard. And people do, and they're exciting, and it makes it easy for people to see and for the health professionals to work out who they need to see. So that's the Scottish model, all connected up. That's the way it's got to be, because if we do it that way, we move from that hospital into the community and the home, and ultimately to self-care, because that's the ambition. We will all look after ourselves. We will be partners in our care, enabling all the health and social care professionals to be our partners in delivering it. Some people fear looking after themselves, but I don't think it will happen. I think what we'll see is items, other items of home technology, things like the TV and the set-top box, giving us access to things on our TV that we're used to. So that's my vision of the home. There's the set-top box. We'll have alarms. We'll have vital signs monitors. We'll be able to look at activity. We'll be able to display things, whether it's on our fridge or on a tablet or on the TV. We'll be able to look at smart meters, so we can tell that we're wasting energy. We can control that environment. We'll have a link through to the outside world. We'll have the monitoring centre. We'll have our records, electronic records, must be a big part of this, and we'll have that responder. So I think it's exciting times. And to finish off, self-care, are we up to the job? 10 years ago, nobody would use a defibrillator in the field because they were scared of being sued. Now, everybody makes them. They're on railway stations. Anyone can be shown how to use it. And I think that tells us that we're now a more confident and literate, illiterate nation. And it's therefore no surprise to see that last week. As long as we know where to stop, and I suggest that that's somewhere we don't go. Thank you.